So, nachdem wir aus der Gruselhöhle entkommen sind, oder Horrorhöhle, steht hier, die Höhle ist viel größer als die bla 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 bla. Sie laufen zu Balthasar, um ihm von ihren gesehenen Visionen erzählen zu können. Ich hatte gerade eine unglaubliche Vision, als ich dieses schwarzes Gewand genommen habe. Was glaubst du, bedeutet das denn, hä?
I just had an incredible vision when I picked up this black robe. What do you think it means?
A vision? Tell me about it. This is amazing. You've just experienced the
Seit
life
doch
of
Kletos
our
der Erste
first
war.
dynast, Clytus the First. It answers quite a few questions I've had about his rise to power and his reign. It also answers many questions about our current situation.
Was ist passiert? Warum habe ich das alles gesehen, als ich das Gewand berührt
How
habe?
did this happen? Why did I see all of these things when I picked up the robe?
I'm not exactly sure. It's possible that when Clytus took his own life, the robe became infused with his spirit. This happens sometimes, especially when the death is particularly violent and the victim is very powerful in magic. When you picked up the robe, what was left of Clytus, lying there for thousands of years, passed through you. Your mind interpreted this by showing his memories. This is all speculation, you realize.
Was hat es mit diesem Zwerg auf sich?
The dwarf was Clytus' personal servant. He worshipped Clytus, very like a wealthy.
Ja, der Zwerg war ja auch kein Mensch. Ein Zwerg war es ja auch.
Clytus saw him as well, not much more than an animal.
Warum hat Kleid ihn mitgebracht?
Bring him along.
Clytus needed someone else to break the rune. It required all of his concentration and effort merely to subdue it. While he focused on
Ach, das war der Koloss.
he had the dwarf run in and carve out the chunk.
Was hat der Zwerg getan?
While Clytus battled the rune.
He just waited to be of service. Every day, he walked with Clytus through the catacombs to the Colossus and waited. If you count the amount of times he wandered in and out of the catacombs with nothing to do, that dwarf must have known it like the back of his hand. You couldn't get much more dedicated.
Was geschah mit ihm? Ist er gestorben?
Tried it the first time.
Even weakened, the rune's magic was strong.
Er ist kein Mensch. Auf denn noch? Ein Zwerg.
To cut the rune, it killed him instantly. I believe that this is where Clytus finally went mad. He was so close to his goal, and his plans were about to be foiled by a lowly mensch. In desperation, he resurrected the dwarf, knowing that the result would be much more resistant to damage than the dwarf's original body. The corpse dragged himself up, and still loyal to Clytus, removed the chunk of stone from the containment room. Clytus had succeeded in breaking the rune at only the cost of a mensch. A bargain.
War das damals, als Kleid die Praxis der Totenbeschwörung bei den Satan einführte?
Practice of necromancy among the Sartan?
Come to think of it, you're right. Coincidental timing? Perhaps not. It's possible that he instituted the practice to justify his own actions. That's almost unthinkable. We've been using necromancy for thousands of years to cover for one man's mistake? I certainly hope that's not the case.
Was passiert am Ende mit ihm? Mit dem Zwerg oder
Clytus
was? Ja.
had broken the containment rune, he had no further use of his servant. He banished him to the ancestral home of the dwarves. It's a complex of caves fairly near to Telestia. The dwarf
Das
obsessed
ist bestimmt der Zwerg der mit dem einen Auge da oben, wo ich dieses Rätsel lösen musste.
He eventually forgot that he had completed the mission and broken the rune, so he sat in his cave waiting
Aua.
for Clytus to come and take him back to the catacombs. I think he's been waiting there ever since.
Let's move along to another subject.
Very well.
Can you explain why Clytus ran away at the end?
I have a theory. After he passed the scepter on to his son, it was only a matter of time until he passed away, either naturally or at the hands of one of his many enemies. He decided to come here, to a secret cave where he could hide forever. Clytus entered and decided upon a small chamber for his final resting place. He cast an illusion spell upon the entrance in order to keep everyone out. Even if someone found these caverns, they wouldn't penetrate his inner sanctum. He had reasons to want not to be discovered. At the very end, he cast a self-immolation spell. This is surprising, but not totally unexplainable. I believe that Clytus actually feared resurrection more than death itself. By destroying his remains, even before he was dead, he assured himself that he would never be raised. That's why you found a pile of ashes inside his robes, which were fairly intact. The self-immolation spell destroys the body of the caster, but nothing else. It appears that Clytus wanted to minimize the chances of anyone finding and raising him. But even so, his actions seem extreme. His remains were completely destroyed. Why did he bother hiding in these forsaken caves, guarded by an illusion spell? I wonder if he was hiding anything else.
Das ist ein Buch vielleicht.
Can you interpret the bit about Clytus's grab for power?
I would be happy to. What would you like to know?
Gab es nicht einen Herrscherrat zu der Zeit?
Wasn't there a ruling council at that time? Could you tell me about it?
The High Council once governed over all of Abarak. Clytus was a member. It democratically created laws for all Sartan and at one time the Mensch as well. When the Mensch woke the Sartan, the council was the body that decided on the course of action. To put a handful of the Mensch to sleep and wait for the interconnection. The council would have continued to rule if Clytus had not been so power-hungry.
Wie hat er den Rat dann überzeugen können, sich aufzulösen? Bestimmt mit seinem komischen Stab, wa? Mit der Rune. Ah, das geht's doch gar nicht. Seite. Das Zepter, ja. Was für ein fieser Hund, ey. Warum hat er das alles getan?
This implied intelligence, but not necessarily sanity. Clytus was clearly insane, if not before his play for power, then afterward.
Let's move on to another topic. Very well.
Was ist mit dem Koloss passiert?
The Colossus is the source of Abarak's magic. It is what warms the stone, melts the ice, and feeds water throughout the world.
Ob ich den auch anzapfen könnte? Wer weiß. In welcher Rune hat er denn gekämpft? Die Schlussrune. Was geschah dann?
Over a period of several months, Clytus wove an intricate set of spells that temporarily weakened the containment rune. When the structure had drained the rune of enough power, he had his dwarf servant carve a chunk of the rune away. It was a central line of the rune. Without it, the symbol was meaningless and therefore powerless. The Colossus's magic began to drain away.
Was tat er, als ein Stück der Rune entfernte? Genau, warum hat er das gemacht? Ich wusste nicht, dass das die Welt putt machen würde.
I'm sure Clytus must have known this. It's possible that Clytus was counting on the interconnection. He must have reasoned.
Oder er hat nur für sich gedacht und dachte, okay, ich lebe jetzt noch 50 Jahre, bis da ist mir egal, was passiert danach vielleicht. Kann ja auch sein, dass er so egoistisch war.
But it's obvious that the ancients believed in it. Perhaps they shouldn't have. Thousands of years have passed and no interconnection has taken place. The Colossus is failing and it's taking our world with it.
Was hat es im Schloss getan?
Before he left it.
Clytus was intelligent. He knew that people would see the Colossus with a huge chunk missing from the containment room and realize something was amiss, so he placed an illusion upon it. Now the Colossus looks normal, even feels normal, but the hole is still there, the rune is still broken, and magic continues to flow.
Kann er repariert werden?
That's an interesting question. I suppose it could. If the rune were reconnected, it would begin to function again. The spell would hold in the magic as it is supposed to. I don't know if the Colossus has enough magic left at this point to support Amarak anymore, but at least it wouldn't lose anymore.
Klingt wie ein Job für Hablo.
The original fragment, if it were replaced, would do this. Actually, it wouldn't have to be the original fragment. Anything that had the missing line that fit into the hole would reconnect the rune. The complete rune is the important element, not the composition of the rock. If something with the fragment shape were placed inside the hole, the containment rune would reactivate.
Enough.
This subject.
Very well.
Zepter der Herrschaft, bitte mehr.
Scepter of rulership.
After Clytus took the chunk from the Colossus, he fashioned a scepter and used the chunk as a headpiece. He brandished the finished product at the
Hat das Ding jetzt Clytus der 14.?
crowd.
Ich glaube ja.
Caved in almost immediately.
What
Macht
kind
des
of
Zepters?
power did this scepter have?
Mostly destructive. It could turn a man to ash with no more than a flick of the wrist. I believe it also had powers of a more subtle nature, though my texts don't address these. What is written is that the scepter is unmatched in sheer destructive force.
Wie hat es seine Macht bekommen?
When the chunk was removed from the Colossus, the containment rune was broken. Magic began to seep from it, much like blood from a wound. It was always Clytus's intention to draw magic from the wound for his own purposes. He found that he could focus this power through the piece of the Colossus that he possessed. That is why he fashioned the scepter, using the fragment as the headpiece.
Ha.
Why did
Genau, warum haben die nachgegeben, der Rat? Es war doch bestimmt eine Menge Meisterzauberer dabei, oder?
Clytus was drawing upon the magic of the Colossus. Nothing could withstand that. Where the other wizards had to weave the
okay.
rune construct slowly into the air and pull the possibilities of their spells into this reality, Clytus could just disintegrate them with a wave of his hand. Before any organized resistance could be brought to bear, Clytus had eliminated any council member powerful or stubborn enough to oppose him. The others fell into line like cattle.
Gibt es eine Möglichkeit, das Zepter zu kontern, oder dem Zepter zu kontern?
That's like asking if there is any way to defeat the Colossus. In a sense, it is the same thing. The scepter draws upon the Colossus's power. It cannot be
Na toll.
although it wouldn't be necessary to overcome the scepter if it were rendered useless. This is just a wild thought, but the scepter focuses the power of the Colossus that is leaking from the broken containment room. If the rune were completed and the containment spell resumed working, the scepter couldn't draw upon the magic.
Okay, also Koloss reparieren und Clytus entgegentreten wahrscheinlich.
All of this speculation is worthless as well. You can't render the scepter useless without completing the containment rune. You can't complete the rune without replacing the headpiece inside the Colossus, and you can't get the headpiece without rendering the scepter useless. A vicious circle.
Wo ist es denn
Where
jetzt?
is the scepter now?
Dumme Frage.
Clytus grew too old to rule. He
Clytus der
placed the
14. hat's
scepter
bestimmt.
in the hands
Er
of
hat's
his
sogar.
eldest son, Clytus II, and disappeared. The line is continued
Oh, die über mir macht irgendwie schon wieder Möbelrücken.
Clytus XIV
Weiß ich auch nicht, warum der sie jeden Tag macht.
and rules Amarak.
Sehr merkwürdige Frau.
Guess that he has it within his palace.
Let's talk
Anderes
about
Thema.
Very well.
Das schaffe ich jetzt, glaube ich, nicht mehr in der Zeit. Oder komm,
Do you
schnell
know
noch.
how I could get to the Colossus?
The Colossus is located.
Ich hoffe, ich überziehe nicht so doll die Zeit. Oder ich hoffe bis dato, dass YouTube meine 15-Minuten-Frist aufgehoben hat. Mal sehen, wenn nicht, muss ich es trennen.
Are
Shit.
shown the way through. No one else is allowed in. Even if you were able to sneak back into the palace me to the center of that maze. Besides Clytus, there's no one living who can show you.
Gut, das ist alles, was ich wissen wollte. Bis dann. Ciao. Und ich mache auch Schluss. Bis zum nächsten Mal. Ciao.